The peloton are all in one big long line as they chase down the 11 riders up front on stage 4 of Tour of Britain 2013. 1 minute and 45 seconds, as you see on screen, is the advantage for the 11 riders up front, and the peloton led by the race leader Bradley Wiggins, the team of indeed Sky Pro Cycling, are pushing hard to try and make sure that they drag these riders back in time, because they're working very well together. It's been a big group, they've been out front for a long time, and the crowds have come out on force one more time to see the Tour of Britain cyclists racing on towards Llanberis, Snowdon's village at the base of the Snowdon mountain, or Llanrwst, to give it its Welsh name. I hope I've done even remote justice to the pronunciation there. It's the highest mountain in England and Wales, and we're racing towards the foothills of that. Llanberis, a real mecca for mountaineers and hill walkers. It's a big mountain biking country as well. That's not half bad for road bikers too, as we're seeing today. Well, just a bit under 19 miles left in this race. Doesn't seem like a lot, but they've a lot of miles in their legs over the last few days. Legs will start to be feeling a little bit tender at this point. And it's been a tough day in the saddle. They've had sort of a head crosswind for much of the day. And that's made it difficult, not just for the riders on the front, but for plenty of riders in the bunch as well. Whenever the road, whenever it comes to a crosswind, that tends to make things a little bit more complicated.
It certainly does. These guys are not really making that much of an inroad on the breakaway over the last 5-10 kilometers now. They've just kind of kept it at that 1 minute 40-ish gap.
Is this a worry, do you think, for Bradley Wiggins, or more particularly perhaps for Mark Cavendish?
Well, I don't know whether it's any better or worse for him, but you know, for Mark, it's going to certainly be an interesting situation to where he's sitting now. Obviously, he's got his teammate up the road in case he's won a fair few bike races over in Belgium in the last month or so. So you've got to trust that the man has got good form, and with that, you know, I don't think that he's going to want to put his guys on the front to bring Kayser back from that breakaway, or completely bring the breakaway back, you know. So he'll probably sit there and hope that Team Sky are going to actually bring it back to a point where he can then go for the stage win. But if he misses out today, there's not really an awful lot left for him to go and try and win a stage on. It's basically the last day, maybe 2 days, where he can really get himself out there.
Don't forget, you can get in touch on Twitter. It's at DQ Sport for myself, at Magnus Backstead, hashtag Eurosport Cycling. Eileen's been on at Alien Eileen. A lot is mentioned in commentary about leg sapping or leg breaking. Does anyone suffer breathing, or is it only me that hyperventilates? It's definitely not only you, Eileen, I can tell you. It's sort of a bit of both, really, isn't it? These guys have fantastic aerobic fitness. If they spend too long over threshold, well, they start to produce lactic acid, and the lactic acid is that pain that you feel in your legs. So the riders are in there somewhere. Have to get the signal sometime through the trees. The railway following the route. And it's a little bit misty here as the conditions change. We've had such changeable conditions so far in this year's Tour of Britain. Beautiful conditions for most of today's stage, and it's quite a bit warmer today for the riders too. So these slightly damp roads are not really going to be a factor at the moment. Could be a little bit closer to the finish, but
well, with
a bit of relief, actually.
With a relatively straight in run we have to the finish, I don't think it's going to be that big a problem, even if it is a bit on the damp side. Obviously, still is always going to be safer and more fun for the riders too. If you have dry road conditions, you can just race your bike and not worrying too much about the grip levels and things like that, you know.
So Anthony Delaplace there with his arm warmers on, and Mike Northey too, maybe one or two others, but most of the break have dispensed with arm warmers. Not so the case for the Sky Pro Cycling squad. Pretty much to a man, they've gone with the long sleeves. Say that, but Bradley Wiggins takes an alternative view. Oh no, he does have sleeves on. Someone else. Bernie, of course, isn't it?
No, that would be Ian Stannard sitting back there, is behind Bradley, who's not got any arm warmers on.
Yeah, I think maybe ISIL too.
Yeah. The big classic boys that find these conditions tropical.
They're tougher, yeah. Made of sterner stuff. Edmondson now on the front. Made his name. Oh, look at that. Just come a few hundred yards down the road and suddenly it's blazing hot sunshine, a dry road. Betsy Coed. Beautiful little village, this. I'm driving through that village and encountering a JCB in front of me on that bridge. It was a little nose-to-nose moment. Kept both our attention. Ian Wilkinson on the back of the group. Team UK youth rider just in front of him, wearing the green of Bardiani Valvoli, is Marco Canola. 24-year-old Italian, took a stage win in Tour of Langkawi in 2012. 7th overall in Tour of Denmark this year, so he's got good legs at the moment. He's clearly going well. And got 6th on a stage at Tour de Limousin in 2013. So no massive results, but good solid pro, and he's got the legs for this group today. Down to 1 minute 40.
If this group were to stay away, it'd be interesting as well to see what a rider like Tom Scully can do. You know, he's been sprinting really well this year in the Tour Series here in the UK, and really was on fire through the months of you know, back in May and early June. It certainly looks like he's a strong man as well. He can certainly go for a longer breakaway as well. So he's kind of possessing a good package here from this breakaway if there is another attack. And you know, I'm expecting a couple of guys to put a move in on the final climb. Not the least a man here in on the back of the group in 92 there with the King of the Mountains jersey. I've got a feeling he's going to try and really rip this breakaway apart and try and go, if not alone, at least create a very select few riders and drag them with him in towards the finish.
At Kiefer 1983 has asked on Twitter to @DQ Sport, does Nigel Mansell still have something to do with UK Youth? He absolutely does. He's the patron of that charity, very much involved.
He's actually the president of that charity. He's the first non-blue blood president of the charity of UK Youth, which is been around for about 103, 104 years now. And it's a charity to work with young people around the country and specialise in finding programs and alternative means of education for young people who may have struggled a little bit in the start of their lives and you know, finding it difficult with formal means of education. So he's the president, and he's also the funder of the team. So no money is coming actually from the charity to fund this racing team. The money's coming from Nigel, just to promote the charity as such. And it has been incredible, the feedback that's come back from the charity, what the team has actually brought them in terms of publicity and in terms of, you know, how many more people are actually aware of right. The charity nowadays. Compared to what it was before we started up this team in 2011, when I sat down with Nigel and we had a chat and decided this was a good move for the charity. I'm actually vice president for the charity as well, so something that lies very close to my heart, and it's great to see these guys out there and the work that Nigel does with the team and you know, promoting the charity, etc. It's you know, just phenomenal.
Certainly is. Nigel Mansell, the 1992 Formula 1 World Champion, is a keen cyclist these days, as indeed are his two sons, particularly Greg. Greg's a very strong cyclist indeed, and a member of the Team UK youth team.
It was borderline whether he was going to make the team here for Tour of Britain. It had been a slightly flatter route. I feel that Greg probably would have made it.
Wow. And Greg Mansell was a pretty strong racing driver in his day as well. So riders up front have 1 minute and 42 seconds as Mark Cavendish prepares for a potential sprint finish success today. Mark Cavendish is still able to chat, so still fairly comfortable in there as the riders mass around Sky Pro Cycling at the front. And I wonder if this is not the moment when some of the other teams start to think about getting involved in this stage. Still 1 minute and 41 seconds between the riders out front. Those 11 riders that have been working well together, and the bunch behind, led by Sky Pro Cycling. And are we going to see a little bit of action happening before we drag this break back?
I'm just sitting here looking at who can actually give them a bit of a hand, and at the moment, the team that I would expect to put a bit of a hand in to do some work would be Team Netap and Endura. There's certainly, you know, they haven't got anyone up there in the breakaway, and Alex Vetterhall is sitting in 10th overall as well, so they got something that they might want to keep an eye on and try and protect a little bit. Apart from that, United Healthcare might be one of the teams as well that you'd consider sort of getting a bit of a helping hand in there, although they've lost two riders already this week, so they'll probably be a little bit down in terms of manpower. MTN Quebec as well, obviously with Gerard Cholik coming in towards another sprint. You know, he certainly has shown that he's sprinting fast enough.
Climbs well too.
Climbs well as well, so although his overall aspirations are probably going to be, well, he could maybe get himself over the climbs here, but it's going to be a tough one, certainly tomorrow in Caerphilly Mountain. And I think, but they will probably try and bring this back together today, and at least give him another opportunity for a bunch sprint. Garmin Sharp, you know, obviously another team here with Jack Bauer in 4th. Did a phenomenal time trial yesterday, Jack Bauer did. And obviously they got Dan Martin in there as well, who certainly tomorrow, that is right up his street with the Caerphilly Mountain stage, but also the stage after that down in Devon is going to be right up Dan's ultimately what he does. So they want to make sure that they're not sort of letting these guys drift away too much, and you know, also with the if you're looking at Garmin Sharp, they still got Steele van Half in there, who's a fast enough man to try and give him an opportunity to sprint. They lost Nathan Haas on stage 2, unfortunately, and obviously Robbie Hunter as well. So Haas, who was 2nd overall here last year, has unfortunately gone home.
Nathan Haas back in the peloton. Heinrich Hausler for the IM squad is on the front and driving hard, and all those riders are starting to pull a few faces, because this is really starting to hurt. They also realize they're coming towards the back end of the race. If they're to have any chance of hanging on, they can hold nothing back at this point. So they're pushing hard to see if there's any chance that they can pull a fast one on the group behind. Richard Millward was asking what that jersey that Ruiz Angel Madrazo is wearing of the Movistar team. Well, it's the Skoda King of the Mountains jersey. It has the distinctive colours. There he is, 2nd last in line. Just behind him, Aaron Gate, the New Zealander with An Post chain reaction cycles. Now Madrazo will wear that jersey again tomorrow. Hausler looks very strong, and he's up for this one. Yeah,
Colodan is having some issues holding the wheel in front of him, so there's a few guys who are probably starting to struggle here. But a minute and 34 with 20 kilometers to go, you know, it's borderline possible for them to hold on to this. I think it all depends on how hard Team Sky, and if anyone else is interested, how hard they're going to go up this final climb, and if they're going to be able to bring them back from there or not, and also ultimately what, you know, the likes of Madrazo's got left in his legs going up the final climb, together with Delaplace, who's certainly been looking like he's climbing very well indeed, and Hausler is the one that's looking, to me, looking very fresh indeed on the bike at the moment.
Well, the next 10K are going to be absolutely fascinating, because if this group gets to the final hill with a minute advantage, it's going to be tough to drag them back. Not impossible, but it's certainly going to put it up to the group behind. We're inside the final 20 kilometres, stage 4 of Tour of Britain 2013, as they race towards Llanberis. 188.4 kilometres in total for the riders today. That's 117.1 miles. As Snowdonia looms in the background, Riders don't have to ride up it today. They've ridden up enough hills, I think. But still, it's far from an easy parkour on today's stage. Now, what a slog it's been for the Sky team today. Virtually a team time trial. And with just 6 riders on each of the teams, and several riders, well, several teams have lost riders, of course, at this point. Sky are all together. They've got their full 6. Bradley Wiggins, of course, in the IG Gold jersey. Josh Edmondson's done great work. Bernie Eisel all week. He's marshalling the troops. Matt Heyman, too, has done superb work, heading to the World Championships next week. David Lopez has been very, very strong in the time trial. He's also been on the front for quite a bit of today. Recent stage winner in the Eneco Tour. And Ian Stannard, of course, sitting 2nd overall. 37 seconds down on his team leader, Bradley Wiggins. And a great alternate for the team. They've got cards to play. I mean, tactically, they really have a big advantage, don't they? And that's why they have to do all this work.
Yeah, well, you know, they put themselves in that position. So...
Superb time trial by Stannard. Were we surprised by that, or was it...
Well, not really. You know, he's a rider who's certainly been able to put that kind of power down for a 20-minute effort. And, yeah, it didn't really surprise me that much, to be honest with you.
Well, the Army are going one way, and the break is going the other. All the action is at Llanberis, lads, as the breakaway group. And it looks as if Madrazo is trying to save a little bit of energy for this, to try and gather up the points at the top of the final climb. Less concerned, really, with making his way to the front, to the finish. Probably doesn't feel that confident that even if he was in the breakaway at the end, that he'd be able to get past the likes of Heinrich Hausler, Ilio Kaisa and the rest. Tom Scully, also superb sprinter. So Madrazo has decided to take a little bit of a breather.
Yeah, maybe just having a look at you know, what the guys look like, and most of the time you can kind of tell from how their riding style, if they're labouring or not, and just trying to work out what his tactics are going to be coming in towards the finish here. And I think we'll see Madrazo put in a big attack right at the foot of this final climb, and just try and get rid of as many of the fast men as possible. You know, 9 kilometers from the top of the final climb into the finish. You can't afford to lose an awful lot of time there if you wanna come in and have a play at the stage win. And you know, I think that's going to play on Madrazo's mind right now, is when do I go? When do I really put this big attack in?
Madrazo at the back. Just in front of him is Alistair Slater of the Great Britain team. 20-year-old rider who's ridden an absolute stormer today. Bit misty again, a little bit overcast, but still relatively dry.
Looking at the breakaway here now, there's a few guys starting to miss their turns, and you can see that they're not sort of, when they're coming back in the one line, they're not sort of slotting into the line that's moving up again straight away. They're just sitting back there, and that just means that the guy in front is not going to turn in either, and all of a sudden you've got the whole breakaway in one long line, and then you start over again. And that just, it slows down the break, but it also makes for a little bit of cagey riding, and the guys are going to start thinking of who's going to come first, who's going to attack, when is the attack going to come, have we got the legs to go with it, and so on and so on. So you really, at this moment, starting to work on.
They've been friends, but the relationship is changing. Yeah.
That's what's so interesting with the sport of cycling, is that you're going to have to work with your opponents to a point where you can actually start thinking about your tactics on how to win the bike race. And that's where we are right now, is that just that change where they go from being teammates, effectively in different jerseys, in towards being competitors and racing against each other.
So if there's a bit of dead wood in there, is it too early to kick things off?
I think it's silly to go before the climb, unless you feel like you're not a top climber. It might be an idea to have a go here at some point now, try and get away with maybe 1 or 2 other riders, and just get that breakaway up to 2 minutes now as well on the general classification, well, on the leaders' jersey. So they are in a position now where they could actually hold on.
Well, you think about it, for Sky, all they really have to do is make sure that they keep Bradley Wiggins in the jersey. So that doesn't actually matter to them too much. if the break stays away. It's for Mark Cavendish and Elliot Viviani and maybe some of the other sprinters, Gerald Cielek, that they might be a little bit more concerned about the work that Sky are doing.
They might. Well, that's probably what they're trying to provoke at this point. But you've got to remember, Slater is only 2 minutes and 15 seconds down on Bradley Wiggins on the general classification, and I don't think they want to lose the jersey. As hard work as it is riding with the jersey and keeping that on the shoulders of this man here, you still want to hold on to it. And this race is a little bit too unpredictable to sort of let a 47-second gap just disappear out in the nothingness. And you know, I think they're going to want to put a bit of effort into this and try and bring them back. Yeah,
we've seen riders, emerging British talent like Jonathan Tiernan-Locke, surprise some of the favourite riders and come up with victory, as indeed he did last year. So 17 kilometres left in this stage and just under 2 minutes for the break up front. It's a great opportunity for them. Will they be able to hang on out front? Madrazo is getting involved. A little bit of a chat going on in the break as he has a look at the group. Approaching the final 10
again, and yeah.
This is the scene in Llanberis at the finish line to stage 4 of Tour of Britain 2013. The riders are making their way towards it. They're within the final 15 kilometres of this stage. There's still 11 riders up front with just under 2 minutes advantage over the field, being led by the Sky Pro Cycling squad. And unfortunately, we've lost pictures from out on the race, so it's a pity at the moment we're not actually seeing what's going on, because the breakaway group, well, it looked as if they were struggling a little bit for a couple of kilometres, but now they've started to work well again. They've got one more climb to do before they make their descent. Oh, and one of the riders from Madison Genesis is on the floor. We've got a quick replay of that, not exactly sure who that was. They've already lost Dominic Jelfs from their lineup. And their best-paced rider is Liam Holohan, 35th overall at 2 minutes and 29 seconds. So just a momentary problem for one of the Madison Genesis riders, but it looks as if he was going to be able to get back in. Inside 14 kilometres to go, and still 1 minute and 53 seconds to the riders up front, who now have an excellent racer's chance of hanging on for victory in this stage 4 of Tour of Britain, as Bradley Wiggins sits fourth wheel, as he has done for so much of the afternoon. Comfortable in the wheels. We're in the foothills of Snowdonia as the riders make their way through the final 15 kilometres of stage 4 of Tour of Britain 2013. And on the front of the bunch, they're piling on the pressure to try and close down the 11-rider breakaway group that have just under 2 minutes advantage. It's a somewhat concerned Bradley Wiggins that realises that that group really has an excellent chance of hanging on. And best placed rider in the group is Alistair Slater of the Great Britain squad. He's just 2 minutes and 15 seconds down, 31st overall, and set to leap up the general classification. Could well get within touching distance of Bradley Wiggins' gold leader's jersey. Slater is up there in the break. Another man who's set to gain significantly if they can maintain this advantage is Tom Scully of Raleigh. Just as we say that, the gap has come down to 1 minute and 47 seconds. Madrazo is pulling faces at the back of the group. He's wearing the Skoda King of the Mountains jersey, the man from Movistar. And some of these pulling faces because he's really feeling it, or because he wants people to know, to at least think that he's feeling it, because he hasn't been able to contribute to the effort much in recent times. He's still got some classification points for that Skoda King of the Mountains to chase for on this final climb. And Magnus, they have a pretty good chance now.
They have a very good chance of holding on to this. You know, obviously we've still got the climb to start properly. It's one of these nice little climbs that starts climbing way before you actually get the foot of the climb, if you will. So it's just falls flat uphill for a long period of time, and then all of a sudden you start climbing properly. Madrazo looked like he was actually labouring quite a bit there, and I just wonder whether he's actually run out of legs. He's been in the fair few breaks already this week, so he might just be feeling it.
Well, he's gone right back up the line. He's on the front. He's just making way for Mike Northey of Note 4 Giordana. On the back of the group here is the man from Bardiani Valvoli, Marco Canola, and this is young Slater, Alistair Slater, 31st overall, as I said, 2 minutes and 15 seconds in arrears, sitting third on the under-23 classification and looking very, very comfortable indeed. I'm sure he doesn't feel comfortable because he's been out there for a long, long time. He makes way for Aaron Gate. Canola manages to drag himself up to the front of the line. Tom Scully it is for the rally team that moves up in the black and white colours. Ilio Kaisa for Amiga Pharma Quickstep. Mark Cavendish's teammate is next to take his turn on the front. Anthony Delaplace, he's been up the road, well, all week really, for Soyason, the young Frenchman. And the man from Cannondale is Matthias Kreisek, Austrian rider, former Austrian champion. And all those riders seem to be working well together. Nobody doing particularly long turns, so there really is a sense of urgency about that group up front. Still 1 minute and 42 seconds, and we're approaching the final climb of the day as Bradley Wiggins sitting in 4th position.
Yeah, just looked like Stannard has actually moved around Bradley now to go up there, and probably will start helping out and taking a few turns on the front to minimise his time gap. I think they've been trying to pull it back, but just been struggling to actually make any.
It's 2 or 3 riders against 11 for most of the day.
Exactly, for the whole day really, and you know, they'll certainly be feeling it now.
So we're inside a kilometre to the start of the King of the Mountains climb, and it drags up by 2 or 3% for several kilometres all the way to that final climb, and they're managing to hang on. They really aren't making huge inroads into this group up front, so they got a super chance. Of course, this is a tough hill, of course, and we will see riders from the bunch that have been sitting in the wheels all day. I think there's every chance that we could see a little bit of activity from those riders. Whether there'll be enough to close down the group up front remains to be seen. 1 3/4 minutes to the good at the moment, those 11 riders up front.
Yeah, Josh Edmondson on the front here now doing a big turn. It looks like they've got a bit of a headwind going up this climb as well, which is certainly not going to help the Sky riders, and probably will actually play a little bit into the favour of the breakaway.
Madrazo on the back once more, the Movistar man. Just in front of him is Slater. In front of him again is Aaron Gate.
Watch out for Madrazo. I think he's just playing a game at the moment.
Spoofing, yeah. Very popular figure in the Movistar team, and making a bit of a name for himself. As I said, he got a good super result in Eneco Tour, 6th on the stage, and was very close to the stage win. Just went a bit early. David Lopez, canny old pro for the Sky Pro cycling squad.
And Ian Stanner has just gone to the front to start taking his turn, and that's dragging the whole peloton out into one long line. It's I think it's not going to be particularly nice to sit in that peloton now.
Kaisa at the back as the Commissar comes up, presumably to give a little bit of news about the gap to the riders behind. Any particular instructions that are likely to be coming from the Commissar's car?
No, they'd just be telling the time gap, how far they got back to the peloton, and it's probably quite encouraging for these guys now. 11.1 kilometre to go to the finish, and 1 minute and 42 seconds. You know, the guys that got something left in their legs here now will be thinking, you know what, I'm up for a bit of a stage win here today.
We're in the foothills of Snowdonia, the Welsh National Park. A really beautiful part of the world. And of course, Mount Snowdon is the highest mountain in England or Wales. Mick Bennett hasn't figured out a way to make the riders go up that one yet.
No, I don't know if there's a tarmac road going up there or not, but it'd be nice with a stage finish on the top of. Yeah. Well, not me personally, no, far from it, but you know, for the race as such, it would be great to have a stage finish right on the top of the highest mountain in the country.
So Canola number 74 in the green of Bardiani Valvoli, just on the wheel of the black and orange colours of Mike Northey and Note 4 Giordana as the chalkboard. Working much more effectively today thanks to the much more pleasant weather conditions for the riders, and great that they have managed to get a little bit of relief after all the rain that they've faced so far.
Here we go, we start climbing.
Now they turn right, and that will be great news for some riders, absolute dread for others. Just 1.5 kilometers, 6.4% the stats we're getting there. Often you can get different statistics depending on where you start or finish the climb. Madrazo still on the back of the group now. Has he been pulling faces more for the cameras, or is it an accurate reflection of the legs that he's got? He's taken the top points at the top of each of the 2 classified climbs we've had today. And you would expect a rider from Spain of his stature to be a very strong climber. He's proven that so far this week. He's on the wheel of Delaplace, who's his nearest challenger in this Skoda King of the Mountains classification. Delaplace is the man that he's going to look at. All the other riders in the break, apart from these 2, are thinking solely about staying away to the finish.
Yeah, and probably solely about staying at, you know, as a group as well. They don't want to let anyone go out there and, you know, ride away and take a solo win here today. They want to make sure that certainly the faster guys in the group, like, you know, Scully and Wilkinson, probably Gate, you know, they'll, in your case as well, they'll certainly be thinking, you know, as long as we can get over this one together, I'm in for a real chance of winning.
Yeah, for Madrazo, I suppose one ambition could lead to another. If he takes top points at the top and there's a bit of a gap, every chance that he might ride. But that's always assuming he's the man that leads them over the top. So really piling on the pressure at the front of the peloton. Ian Stannard sitting 2nd overall, 37 seconds down on Bradley Wiggins, is the man who is taking responsibility for setting the pace. Stannard is in fine form. Doesn't look like a climber, but he gets over these short ones really, really well for a big man. Tom Scully is leaving nothing in the tank as he leads the field up this final climb of the day. It's Pen y Pas, heading towards the finishing Llanberis today at the conclusion of 188.4 kilometers. They've still got 10 kilometers left in this stage 4 of Tour of Britain. And Scully has Heinrich Hausler on his wheel, looking very strong indeed. Delaplace, who scored good mountains points this week, but he's been in the break as well most of the week. And Delaplace looks like he's struggling a little bit. Scully, though, looks very strong.
Scully looks very strong. He's riding nicely on the front there. Heinrich Hausler doesn't look like he's broken sweat yet. He's looking very, very good indeed. And Madrazo, I can't get my head around him really, whether he's actually playing or whether he's really feeling it. He's pedaling so nicely and so efficiently, even though he's pulling all those kind of faces you can see with the man there with the green and blue helmet and the white jersey.
Some serious gurning going on at the moment. Tom Scully looks very strong. I hope he's not giving too much away to Heinrich Hausler, because Hausler is one of the fastest men in the world and well capable of producing a good sprint.
Watch Hausler going for an attack. He's just gone onto the big chain ring and just got out of his seat here now. So
and speaking of attacks, Dan Martin has gone for it. We're back in the bunch. We did expect a little bit of activity. Bradley Wiggins has seen the danger because the leader for Garmin Sharp on the front.
Quintana behind him as well.
Yeah, well, Dan Martin and Nairo Quintana were absolutely welded together for much of the first road stage, and well, look at the damage that is doing to the bunch behind. Martin attacks and hasn't looked over his shoulder for the last 20 or 30 seconds. Nathan Haas has spotted the danger as well.
No, Jack Bauer, that is on his wheel. Jack riding incredibly well.
Oh, the attacks are coming in the break up front as well, as Slater is going for it up the top, as Delaplace manages to get on his wheel, and not quite such fresh legs for Madrazo, although he is on the wheel of Delaplace as they go for the climb. And will Madrazo be able to get in front of him? It's Delaplace that takes the top points at the top of the final climb of the day, as Canola sees his opportunity to perhaps go for it. Is Canola attacking, or is he just...
good move, good attack.
Right over the top. Marco Canola, no one had seen him. Bauer has gone for it, and he's been set up nicely by Dan Martin. Superb bit of work by Dan Martin, just to attack for as long as he possibly could.
But how strong is Jack Bauer riding? You know, this is not a man who's really a climber. He's a strong man for the flat, but managed to go with Dan Martin on the attacks there, and now has found the legs to actually attack again.
And all that means that the gap between the riders up front and Jack Bauer chasing, well, at least Bradley Wiggins chasing behind, is 44 seconds and shrinking with every passing meter. We're inside the final 9 kilometers, so it's not certain that the riders out front are going to be able to hang on. Jack Bauer has a little gap on his own. He's sitting pretty at the moment out front of the bunch.
Well, he's fourth on the general classification at 55 seconds as well, so you know, this is a a strong move by Jack Bauer to try and just get himself up there onto the podium, maybe.
Well, Canola has been controlled by the rest of the group, and they're pretty much as one. I don't think anyone has gone missing from this group over the top, so very, very similar strength for the riders, and that's good news for them. At least there's some legs in there to try and pile on the pressure down this descent and bring it all the way to the finish. Yeah,
they're going to have to stay on the power on the way down this mountain. Though it's not really technical enough to just roll down there, and with these guys, certainly Jack Bauer putting the pressure on, and the guys behind him are certainly going to have to go as well. It looks like it's actually Bradley Wiggins on the front of the peloton. It is literally downhill all the way in towards the finish now, so that there's no more climbing to really speak of. Maybe a little bit of a bump there with 3-4 kilometers to go.
Well, this plays to Jack Bauer's strengths because he really is a powerhouse rider, but can he hold off the peloton behind? Well, it's a big ask. As Magnus says, 55 seconds between himself and Bradley Wiggins at the start of today. Jack Bauer, the New Zealander from Garmin Sharp, and New Zealand riders have really made their mark in this year's Tour of Britain. There's 3 of them up front at the moment going for glory. Tom Scully, Mike Northey are up there. I remember who the other one is. There's definitely 3 of them up there, but the bunch behind, look at them lined out, and riders scrabbling to try and hang on. The riders from MTN Quebec have really suffered today. And the 37 seconds now between the riders up front and Bradley Wiggins, but more significantly, there's 9 seconds between them. What's happening to the break? Are they giving up? Because they don't want to give up now. They need to ride as one. They still have a great chance. As you say, Magnus, it's downhill to the finish. Every chance. Or has this been neutralised, and are these gaps just not really representative of what's happening?
No, I think that it is still a significant gap there, but if they play around like this and stop riding, then they're going to be swallowed up quite quickly. So they need to be on the power and make sure that they keep on, if nothing else, making these attacks that Ilya Case has just done here. The moment you sit up and stop pedaling, you know, you just go on too slow because it's not really steep enough to carry that sort of top end speed. Jack Bauer looks like he's maybe given up that attack. He's
he hasn't quite given up, but a little look over his right shoulder indicates that group is closing him down. Sky Pro Cycling.
Stannard on the front.
Yeah, Stannard doing the big leg work. Bradley Wiggins looking relatively cool, calm and collected, and it's a big bunch that managed to make it and stay in together over the top of that hill.
It's a bit of a nervous situation there for Bradley, though. He lost all of his teammates, had to do the chasing on his own. Certainly had to go after Quintana and Dan Martin on his own, and got left on the front there with no teammates for a while, so he had to put a bit of a turn in. Now obviously Stannard and David Lopez are up there, and Jack Bauer is not really an issue. I
think Quintana was covering down Martin, but in actual fact Martin was thinking more about setting up Bauer, wasn't he?
Well, I think he potentially was thinking about just softening the legs of Wiggins maybe, but Jack Bauer must be feeling phenomenal if he's happy enough to let Dan Martin put an attack like that in and follow that and then go attack over the top of it.
5 kilometers to go on stage 4 of Tour of Britain. Ilya Kaisa puts in another very strong dig. Weaves from left to right on the road and tries to see where the next attack is coming from. This group are not really working well together, but those big attacks have meant that the gap between them has moved out to 30 seconds again, so they've still got a great shot of holding off the big bunch chasing behind as the road flattens out a little bit towards the finish. It's more downhill than up in the last kilometre. Here comes Madrazo. Has he got the legs to hold off 11 riders chasing behind? The Skoda King of the Mountains leader also believes that he's got the legs on the flat. Delaplace has followed him all day, and he's going to follow him up the road. So Delaplace trying to get across to Madrazo, and none of the other riders believe that this is the one to cover just yet. So who's going to be the one that blinks first? It's Mike Northey, who makes it 3 up front. Mike Northey of Note 4 Giordana. Canola is there, and I think pretty much all the group. Northey keeps driving through, and Madrazo sits up. So Northey gets a little bit of a gap. Well,
this is the moment now where a little move like what Mike Northey's just done here now could be the one that goes to the finish. We can see all these moves and attacks. No one's really happy to go straight on them. So with that, you know, just following through an attack is something that could set you up for the stage win.
So Mike Northey has just under half a minute gap. Inside 4 kilometers to go on this stage. Mike Northey of Note 4 Giordana has a significant, it's certainly a racer's chance for the man from New Zealand representing Note 4 Giordana. He's opened up, well, it must be 10 seconds advantage over the remaining 10 riders in the breakaway. 27 seconds to the good out front of the peloton, being led, as it has done for the last few kilometres, by Ian Stannard of Sky Pro Cycling, and the massed ranks of some of the other sprinters teams are moving up.
They're in a difficult position here now. Cannondale, Omega Pharma, Quickstep, they're close enough to know that they can actually close this down quickly and set it up for a sprint, but at the same time they want to leave Sky doing the majority of the work all the way in there, see whether they're going to bring them back or not. And that you're trying to do a lead up whilst holding back, and it never really works well.
So Mike Northey just hits a little drag, which would be more than a drag for him, I think, in every sense of the word, as he has a little look under his right armpit and realizes that he's still something worth persevering with. 6 seconds between those riders. Is that
that's round about right, yeah.
But Canola on the front, yeah.
It just doesn't look like they're really working all that well together in that group. You know, there's still that one long line. They're not going through the way they should do.
Well, the gap to the bunch has gone out again, another couple of seconds. So every chance of hanging on. Mike Northey has given himself a racer's chance of taking a famous victory on stage 4.
Madrazo coming again.
Tour of Britain. Here comes Ruiz Angel Madrazo, who's given us so much entertainment. Look at the bunch behind. They have this break in sight.
Yeah, and I saw a blue Garmin Sharp jersey on the front, Jacob Brath.
So Jacob Brath, what's this all about? What's the tactic for the Garmin Sharp team? They're trying to get Steele Van Hoff into position. Madrazo realizes that doesn't work. Northey has been controlled, and Ilio Kaisa has gone for it, and that's great news for Mark Cavendish, great news for Omega Pharma Quickstep. He's up front. They get a free ride all the way to the finish. There's no one chasing at this stage anyway. It's not quite organised like that. Kaisa looks over his shoulder, realizes he's on his own. Madrazo and Northey, too, are flying solo, so the break has shattered to pieces.
It certainly has done, and it's a dangerous move with Ilio Kaisa. Trackman, he can do 2 kilometres very, very fast indeed, but it looked like Tom Scully was going after him as well, so here comes Netap Endura.
So a little drag before it descends ever so slightly down to the finish.
Scully taking a turn on the front with Wilkinson on his wheel, and then you've got Della Place after that. Heinrich Hausler just marking things there, trying to make sure, see whether can we stay away, what's going to happen with this.
Savage stuff now, 22 seconds with less than 2 kilometres. This is going to be really touch and go. Netap Endura on the front. The reigning champion team, they haven't got Jonathan Tiernan-Locke with them anymore, so what are they trying to set up? As Ilio Kaisa has been controlled by Heinrich Hausler. Hausler, a superb sprinter, and knows how to find the finish line. All the riders are looking behind them as much as they're looking in front. They know the bunch are looming. Still, they hang on to this 22-second advantage as Scully goes for it. Hausler realises the danger. Scully has got to be one of the favourites in the sprint, but Hausler is a superb rider. 24 seconds is what the GPS are telling us, but look at the punch behind. They're right there. We're inside 2 kilometres. 1.7 kilometres according to the caption on screen. Not always the most accurate. Surely the bunch are going to be able to get them, or are they? As Scully, well, he's been controlled by the rest of the group. They're all back together again, but still he piles on the pressure on the front. That's good news for the other riders in the break.
Well, just expecting a bit of an attack coming from maybe someone like Ian Wilkinson at this point. 1.6 kilometres to go.
Looks like it's all together. Netap Endura have closed it down. A superb job done by the Netap Endura squad, and they have dragged their way up into the bunch as we hit the final mile of stage 4 of Tour of Britain, and the break have been closed down. I wonder, will any of the riders at least try one last ditch effort? What an effort. It's Heinrich Hausler that goes for it. Canola spots the danger. Hausler is capable of a late attack as well. I think that's pretty much how he took his stage victory in 2009 in the Tour de France, and he certainly put it up to the bunch behind.
Yeah, but here comes the Netap Endura team trying to lead Scott Waite down.
Krycek now inside the final kilometre. They're under the kite, and the bunch are at 6s and 7s trying to get themselves organised.
Look at Ilio Kaisa getting straight in there, trying to help out his team as well. This is going to be very, very fast indeed. It's all downhill towards the finish line.
So Team Rally on the front at the moment, but here come Bardiani Valvoli on the left-hand side. Who are they sprinting for? Sasha Madola came with the big reputation, hasn't been sprinting so far that well this week.
Pataki opening up his lead out. Watch out for Mark Cavendish. 500 metres to go.
Inside the last 500 metres of stage 4 of the Tour of Britain, and they're waiting for the arrival of the team. Mark Cavendish is in great shape, sitting third wheel at the moment. Will he be able to hang on? He's gone a little bit earlier, has he? And for the IM team on the front, going for the line, Mark Cavendish on the right-hand side. He's got the lead that he needs. Will Viviani pip him on the line? It looks as if Mark Cavendish is going to hang on for victory. Mark Cavendish takes victory in stage 4 of Tour of Britain. Gets the win that he wants. Which of those Garmin Sharp riders pulled a foot out? And that was a hairy moment. But a superb win for Mark Cavendish. On the 4th stage of the Tour of Britain, he gets the win that he so badly needed.
What a final. Yeah, it looked like Stil van Hoff there just got his chain, came off his bike in the final sort of pedal stroke or so, and pulled his foot out and just managed to stay upright. But what a win by Mark Cavendish. Didn't look like he was in the perfect position there, and had to open up very, very early, which you need to do when it's a downhill sprint and it's so fast, because it takes you longer to actually come over the top of the rider in front of you. And still, very, very good good work by Alessandro Petacchi, getting him up there into the right position, and then for Mark to come off that one.
Yeah, it did look for a moment as if Viviani might be able to get around him, but just didn't quite have the legs. Cavendish is back, and he loves nothing better than to take victories in the Tour of Britain. That's the 8th, I do believe, of his career. He is the record stage winner by some considerable margin. Let's get a slow motion action replay of the finish, as Cavendish guns for glory inside the final 300 meters. Low over the bars. Viviani comes from a long way back.
Chris Opie from Team UK Youth there on the right-hand side of your picture as well.
And it wasn't the most controlled of sprints.
Leon Wilkinson managed to help keep himself right up there.
Hauser there as well. Wilkinson, who'd been in the break all day. Superb effort for those riders to still be involved. Cavendish gets his hands in the air. Viviani disappointed. Oh, and that's incredible. Well, how did he stay upright? It was Viviani, actually, that almost took the front wheel out from under him. And in the process, his chain came off and he pulled a foot out. That was as close as you will ever see to a crash without it actually happening. Fantastic bike handling there from Van Hoff.
I don't think he had many spokes left in that front wheel either. He looked a little bit on the unstable side.
Woof. Well, he might be disappointed not to get the win, but he'll be delighted that he still managed to stay upright. But there was no stopping Mark Cavendish as he takes the 4th stage of this year's race. And it'll be a big thrill for him, wearing the British National Champions jersey. His confirmation, Stil van Hoff gets 3rd place with 1 foot out. It's Matteo Pellucci of the IAM team that gets up for 4th. Rojas of Movistar, Owen Dull of Great Britain sits in 6th position at the end of that. Thwaites, Opie, Bennett round out the top 10, but Mark Cavendish takes the all-important stage win into Llanberis after 188 tough kilometres.